like to call this meeting to order of the Geneva Historic Preservation Commission for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. The first item on our agenda is the roll call.
Hartman, McManus,
Here.
Solomon,
Here.
Stazen, Jensen,
Here.
Zinke, Chairman Zelmer.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the approval for meeting minutes from November 16th, 2021.
I move to approve the minutes of November 16th, 2021. Oh, sorry.
Before we do that, do we have any revisions or revisions?
Changes, yeah.
No. If no, go ahead.
Go again? Okay.
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of November 16th, 2021.
Second. Okay. Roll, yeah.
All right, for the minutes, McManus,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
and Chairman Zelmer.
Aye. Great. The Okay, our next item on the agenda is 5-minute field guide, shake or shingle.
Thank you, Chairman Zelmer. It sounds like we're dancing tonight, but we're not. So, shake or shingle. The term shake shingle and wood shingle are often misused and often used interchangeably, but they are very different products. A shake shingle, sometimes referred to as a split shake or a split shingle, is thicker and literally is split off from a block of wood, giving it a rough surface and a more rustic look. A wood shingle, however, is actually sawn on both sides to create a taper, and it's an actual thinner type of shingle. When installed, the two products have very distinct appearances and longevity. In colonial times, wood was extremely popular in North America thanks to the abundance of land and lumber. Because trees were plentiful from the earliest settlement days, the use of wood for all aspects of construction is not surprising. Wooden shingles were lightweight, made with simple tools, and easily installed. Wood shakes were usually split from wood that was regionally available, such as cedar, pine, redwood, Alaskan yellow cedar, eastern white cedar, oak, or cypress. Wooden shingle roofs were prevalent in the American colonies, while in Europe at the same time, thatch, slate, and tile were the prevalent roofing materials. There is an old false concept that heavy, rough, and thick shake shingles were used everywhere in historic houses, but in reality, that was not the case. Even the earliest homes, such as this one pictured, had finely split, smooth and thin wood shingles, and soon thereafter, sawn wood shingles became more popular. Hand-split shake shingles required less effort to produce and less skill and labor as well. Therefore, hand-split shake shingles were well suited to the establishment of pioneer buildings across the American frontier. While the thickness of the shake shingle provided long wear, roughly split shake shingles resulted in a large amount of open grain, that is, the fibers that are exposed to the weather. And that open grain trapped moisture and promoted the growth of moss and lichen, which reduced their weather tightness and shortened the lifespan of a roof. By sawing wood into shingles, the thinner shingles could be uniform in size and thickness, with less grain exposed to the weather. Consequently, a sawn wood shingle roof was less susceptible to molds or lichens, resulted in less cupping and warping, and remained weather-tight for longer periods of time. Wood shingles were also treated with colors for decorative purposes, including gray, red, brown, and gray. Alternatives to wood shingles included sheet metal and natural slate, both which provided greater fire resistance in more densely populated areas as the American frontier became more settled. Beginning in the late 19th century, alternative shingles such as tarred canvas, asphalt-impregnated mineral fiber, and asphalt composition displaced wood shingles because the alternative materials were more plentiful and cheaper and easier to produce. So although shake shingles gained a brief period of favor as an element of the Romantic revival styles at the turn of the 20th century, and again in the 1940s colonial revival effort, and once again during the 1970s rustic era, shake shingles are not an authentic roofing material in most periods of architecture, except in the most rudimentary pioneer structures that continue to survive. So again, when people are looking at appropriate restoration materials and they say they want to use a shake shingle roof for historic authenticity, it should cause us pause as preservationists to really examine whether or not the roof was actually a split shake roof or actually a resawn shingle roof. Are there any questions or comments? Bravo.
The next item on our agenda is review of conceptual development plans. There was, the 136 South Fifth Street has been withdrawn, so, and we'll probably see that next month, but, so we will start with 427 Fulton Street. Oh.
Okay. We'll get through this meeting. It's only been 4 months since we've had practice, so.
Exactly.
So, 427 Fulton Street is a concept review that involves the demolition of an existing garage and construction of a new garage at a contributing property. This is a slightly unusual case that we're seeing, not in the matter of the case, but we don't always get cases that are coming before us that feed into the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the purpose of this this review this evening is to provide feedback to the Planning and Zoning Commission as they hear the request for the variance request by the applicants. So the property is located in the southwest corner of the Geneva Historic District and in the southwest corner of the Central Geneva Historic District listed in the National Register of Historic Places. The house was built in 1922 for George and Alice Carnell, and it was built by local builder W.D. Draper. The house has been owned by Joe McMahon since 1990. I'm assuming you've all driven by the property at least, so you're familiar that it's a one-story hipped roof bungalow building, and there is a garage in the far northeastern corner of the property. This overhead view shows the property and the garage, and the garage is located within the circle on this aerial view. So the proposed garage is shown in the same location same general location as the existing garage, but it's a slightly larger garage to accommodate a work truck and other vehicles and some storage workspace. Just in general, the approximate location of the existing garage is shown in this image in the red area, superimposed on the proposed garage in yellow. The applicant is making 2 requests to accommodate the new detached garage. It's variations from 2 sections of the zoning code. The variation from section 11-3-3E is to reduce the required rear and side yard setbacks for a detached accessory structure from the required 5 feet to a minimum of 1.5 feet. And variation from section 11-4A-6 for lot and area requirements to increase the allowable lot coverage from 45% to 49%. The applicant has submitted sample exterior views of the existing garage. The overhead vehicular door and service door are not original to the structure. As you can see from the images, the overhead door has deteriorated and has been repaired with non-original panels at the base course of the door. The Dutch lap wood sign appears to be original, but shows signs of deterioration near the base of the walls. The 4 light windows on the west side of the garage appear to be original to the structure. The hipped roof has been most likely always covered in asphalt composition shingles. The applicant has also provided sample interior views to show that the concrete slab has deteriorated in the vehicle bay. There are several questions that should be considered as part of the Historic Preservation Commission deliberation when forwarding its comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. In consideration of the conceptual demolition request, the minimal questions the HPC should be asking itself and resolving are, is the existing garage a good example of an early 20th century detached automobile garage? Secondly, does the existing garage retain sufficient architectural and/or structural integrity? And admittedly, structural integrity may be difficult to determine at this conceptual review level because we don't ask for a lot of detail at a conceptual review. And thirdly, does the loss of the existing garage significantly alter the historic character of the property and/or the neighborhood? In consideration of the proposed construction of a new garage, the questions that are before the Historic Preservation Commission include, number 1, is the proposed garage subordinate and complementary to the architectural character of the property based on the conceptual information we have to date? Number 2, a conceptual level, does the proposed garage complement the historic mass, scale, height, and materials of the existing property? The proposed garage, as was included in your packet, identifies Dutch lap siding, not any specific material, but it would be a Dutch lap siding similar to what is on the existing garage. It would be a hipped roof with asphalt shingles, a single story, and the overall footprint of the garage is smaller than the residence. And it's important to note that regardless of what happens at the conceptual review tonight, the applicant will have to come back before the HPC for final approval of the construction of the garage with all materials and building details provided at some future date. And lastly, does the proposed garage significantly depart from the historic character of the property and/or the neighborhood? With that, that is a brief introduction of the case before you. The applicant is here, Mr. Joe McMahon, and he can come to the podium and will answer any questions or add anything to the presentation that he feels is pertinent. So, Mr. McMahon?
Sharing your time, appreciate it. I'm gonna just, what Michael just went through is pretty much what is. I have a truck and a car, and the garage door is going to be larger than normal because my truck has a rack on it. So instead of a 7-foot door, I'm going to have an 8-foot door, high. Also, it's probably going to be maybe a foot or two wider than normal, because the opening of the garage and getting in it is sort of hampered by the way that everything lays out. So my point is, if I make that garage, where it says 22 there, the garage is probably going to be about 18, and that'll allow me, when I come in that driveway, because the driveway's staying the same, that I can kind of work the vehicles around the corner of the house and into the garage. The little bump out for the garage is going to be a workshop that's what I do for a living, but it's not going to be running a business out of it. I've mostly retired, but I do need some place to work. Again, and I'd probably in the garage, and maybe this is too detailed, I'd probably put windows in the top panels of the garage, so for light in there. Shingles, the roof will be a hip roof. It'll be asphalt to match the house. There'll be windows. Most of the windows will probably be on the west side, and probably an entry door facing west also. Again, the roof will be a hip, match the house. And I guess one of the things about the garage door is when you need that size garage door as far as height, then the framing has to go above it, and then your roof takes off from there. My point is that I don't intend this to be a 2-story garage. It's basically a 1-story garage, and the roof pitch will probably be somewhere in the vicinity of a 5 or a 4, which matches the house. The siding, at this point, I'm leaning towards the Dutch lap siding. That's still available now, so I can that is a wood siding. That's basically about it. And I did have another proposal that I came to Historic before in the past, and that was an exit or an entrance from 5th Street, and that was rejected. During that meeting, the neighbor that is to the north, his statement was, I don't care where you do it, if you build it right on the lot line, it's okay with me. He said, I just don't want it to come in off of 5th Street. And so that was what he what one of his concerns was. Now, the neighbor to the east of it, I did present some pictures, but his garage is a 2-story garage, and it's probably 24 by 24. It's large. So the point of it is that I'm not overshadowing by building this. It's more fitting in, meets my needs to some extent, and doesn't really create a lot of problems as I see it for the neighbors. Although you never can tell. Sometimes people find reasons why they don't care for it. Anyway, that's pretty much, if I can answer some questions that you might have, be more than willing to do that. Let me interrupt myself again. When it was before the historic last time, this was a suggestion by one of the members of the committee.
Just for clarification, I believe it was before the Plan Commission, not the Historic Preservation Commission.
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
So I saw a couple confused looks that we didn't see this before, but just to clarify, it had come before the Plan Commission before for the other alternative, and is now coming before us to feed into the Plan Commission. Thank you.
Yes. I misspoke about that.
I just had a quick question. So the reason that we're constructing a new garage in lieu of just sort of salvaging the old garage is because it's kind of beyond salvageability at this point?
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Okay.
How much would I have to tear down to restore it?
Yeah,
And I think restoring it, as far as I'm concerned, it would need a proper footing, concrete footing, and that's shot.
right.
Right now, that concrete is it is shot, and the garage on some sides of it are actually, the framing part is below grade, so that's deteriorating. When the new garage comes in, it's usually about 6 inches above grade, so that hopefully takes care of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know the history of the garage? Was it built at the same time as the house? Or was it built after, or do you know any of the timing of the structure?
No, I don't. So anything I say will be a maybe.
Okay.
The garage would reflect what was probably normal in those times, one car.
Yeah,
And not a lot of, originally, I did some work to it. Kind of 20 years ago, I did some restoration work to it. But it was just framing, and the siding was a problem, and the windows are never really anything great. But the point of it is, it was just a utilitarian function, you know, get the car out of the snow, and so that's pretty much. Because right now it's in the not nice weather, it's not a problem, but in the winter time. And sometimes my daughter comes and stays with me and other friends. The driveway is pretty congested. You know, it'd be nice to just have the cars someplace else and have people be able to use the driveway.
To answer your question, Chairman Zelmer, the garage was there by 1930. We believe it was built within a year or two of the house. But again, as I point out in the staff report, the overhead door replaced originally bifold doors most likely, and the service door has been replaced as well, just to give you an idea of what has been altered on it. The rest of the building seems to be fairly well intact, but the main facade has been heavily altered.
If there's anything else I could answer, I'd be happy to do that.
I'm, based on the pictures and I see the deterioration and that, I have no issues with the concept as it is at this moment until we see more details later.
Yeah, that obviously, that would be forthcoming. At this point, as you can probably understand, that would be the cart before the horse. I mean, I can have all the ideas and all the plans I want, it has no effect on whether it's going to pass. And for the most part, the way it seems to be, it's how the neighbors receive it. Seems to be a major player as far as the committee looking at the project. If they,
Mr. McMahon, would you just tell us approximately how far off the property the current garage is?
a foot and a half.
The current garage,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
about the same location?
It
as
is,
the-
right,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then because a garage, I need it deeper, so that's why I'm actually encroaching on the person's, closer to his property in the back. And that's gonna be somewhere around 2 feet, 2 to 3 feet away from his property line. And at the last meeting, he seemed to have no problem with that. Matter of fact, he acted like well, you know, if you want the garage, then I'd go along with that. Now, I've found out, as we all have found out, when something is said under certain situations, and then a situation can reoccur that might be like that, that I didn't say that, or I didn't mean that, or whatever. But I guess you can't worry too much about what anybody's gonna say or anything else.
So what's the rear setback right now? Is it,
It's about 3, I think.
so you're taking about another foot?
Yeah, I am. You're right, yeah, right.
Okay.
And as the line goes, it increases as it goes.
Yeah,
So,
your lot isn't square like,
yeah, exactly. And again, this is a small house on a small lot. There's nothing wrong with that, and I remember when I bought it, several people said, well, this isn't gonna be long before that's a 2-story, and that's not really what I chose. You know, since I've been in it, I put the porch on the front, and then there's the entrance on the side. I put that on it too. And then the landscaping is all new. Probably when you go back to when this thing was built, there was a structure on the front of the house, but it was more of a trellis, and that rotted away and went to disrepair also.
Jewel, do you have any questions specifically?
Am I on?
Yes.
So the garage is going to be larger, but it's not going to be a 2-car garage, correct?
It's going to be bigger than a 2-car garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a 2-car garage with the additional storage on it?
Yes, right. That, the 2-car garage part is the rectangle, the first rectangle. And if you extended, came across here, got to the 22, and then it goes up, I think that's 6. If that went straight up, that would be a rectangle. However, I would like some storage space and workspace, and that's the part that's 10 by 18, I think. You know, you're welcome to stop by the property, and you don't have to knock on the door to go back there and look at it. But my point is that it's staked out, so it gives somebody, well, a concept of, well, okay, I see what's going on there.
Can you bring up a picture of the existing house again? So I'm kind of diving into the details of what the existing house is.
Yeah.
And the existing, and what the existing garage is, and whether they're complementary to each other. And they don't seem to be coming from the same place, if you ask me.
One was definitely used for a single purpose, and, you know, in those times too, they liked the garages in the back of the house and the cars away from the house because they created a lot of smoke and fumes and that kind of stuff. There might be a 3 or 4 inch overhang on the garage now. So the new garage will probably have an overhang that's about somewhere around a foot. The house has one that's probably around 18 to 20 inches. But the structure is going to be close to the lot line, and I basically can't have an overhang that would be the same as the house, because that would be on the neighbor's property, you know, if they drew a line up. So the bottom line is I have to, the structure can be right on the lot line, but you can't have an overhang on it. So that overhang has to, whatever you put on it, you have to be aware of the fact that that the garage has to be back farther from it.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that was my other question is that there's a certain, I would call it I'm an architect, so I know what it is. It's a plate height on that. And and if you're gonna use the same, roof pitch
Yeah,
and the plate height,
right.
you're gonna, are you gonna be able to work with plate height that's less than the existing? You probably haven't gotten into that detail yet.
No, well, I can tell you what I think, and
Yeah.
no, because that garage door, I don't even know if it's 7 feet tall. Well, the
Correct.
next garage door is gonna be 8 feet tall.
Yeah,
So then you need, whatever structure you need above to support that, whether you use headers or trusses or whatever. So it's going to be, it's going to definitely be maybe 1.5 feet higher than what it is right now. That's what I would think.
yeah, but it's also, the house is actually up out of the ground.
It is.
Considerably compared to
Yes.
what the garage would be too. So,
It is, you're right. One of the good parts about that is there's not been any water in the basement.
Correct.
Because you're not down that far.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, the new garage, I'm going to want windows in above the door, and that exists right now, too. So, and, you know, one of the things that doesn't really show in these pictures is the size of the neighbor's garage, because no matter what I build, that garage is dwarfing
yeah,
whatever I'm gonna do. So it's not like, oh my God, look what he built.
okay. I guess one of the questions I have to the commission is, do you think that, is this a good example of an early 20th century detached automobile garage? So do you feel like it's
It's an idea that needs to be hung on to and
yes,
push
exactly,
forward.
push forward?
It doesn't look like anything that's significant to the structure or anything. So, I mean, it looks like someone made a structure so that they could put their car in there. I don't know that it was in keeping with what's happening with the house itself or anything that needs to be replicated. Maybe in scale, but certainly not.
I guess that I kind of agree with you in the fact that it doesn't even have the same eaves, it doesn't have the same,
Yeah,
it's not like it's a smaller version of the house or anything like that, so I'm not sure that the character is.
Looks like a shoebox.
yeah.
It does look a lot like a shoebox.
The house was not, and I don't believe that this house was inexpensive to build. I think from the quality of work that went in it, it's poured concrete walls. Although in this neighborhood, stucco is not a rare thing. There's quite a few houses that are stucco in this neighborhood. This is a different type of stucco. This is like a popcorn effect stucco. But that would be cost prohibitive, I think. So, I can go with the original siding.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at right now is just trying to decide that is the existing garage, is it worth saving? And what I'm picking up from the commission is that it's a utilitarian structure that was kind of built probably after the fact, and it may not have, and it doesn't, it's worn out its usefulness, and it also is not in great shape because it's starting to,
Yeah. The original owners might have spent too much on the house and they kind of short-sheeted on the garage 2 years later.
Were people driving cars in 1922 around? Who had a car back then?
Well,
Did
there were houses that, I mean, if it was, what year was it, say? It was there?
1922, Illinois started licensing, registering cars, I believe, in either 1906 or 1909, so this
Oh,
was,
I'm way off then.
so this was far, far into the automobile age.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably had a Model T in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I had a garage that had a Model T, a size for a Model T also. And
Yeah, yeah, it certainly doesn't
It
fit
doesn't lend
today's
itself
car. Yeah.
today's car. But I'm not sure that structure is what I can tell from the pictures that I've seen and walking around the neighborhood, I'm not sure it's worth salvaging to,
I don't think there's anything dynamic about it that makes or breaks.
other than the fact it's old.
Yeah.
It's old. But just because it's old doesn't mean it's worth
Correct.
anything.
Again, I'm inviting you to go and look at it. You can open the garage door, the service door, if you want to see the inside. I had no problem with that.
Yeah. I guess the next question would be is, does anyone have an issue with the historic character of the Holden? If we lose this garage and put that other garage in its place, or lose this garage, is it gonna ruin the character of the neighborhood? And I don't see that as an issue either. So it's just kind of it's kind of tucked back in the corner there and doesn't really even,
Probably, it's fairly hidden anyway.
Yeah.
yes. I know that there were a bunch of trees on the one side that kind of cover up the garage on that side a little bit.
Yeah, right now, it's, you can see it, but in the,
In the spring.
warmer weather, that's pretty hidden from the street if you have your back to the west, looking at it. Yeah, and then really, as far as looks goes, as far as historic looks goes, in the front of the house, that's, I don't know, is it 60 feet back before you can see the front of the garage? That's a ways back.
Yeah, it is.
It's not like sticking out.
Okay. So I think that, does anyone have any, are we gonna vote on anything?
You do need, have a motion that says whether or not you're supporting the variances, based on the criteria in the historic preservation ordinance.
And do we do that for the demolition and also for the construction?
I think you can do as one motion, for the case, because it's, both are contingent on the other.
Okay.
They're not gonna build new if they don't demolish the existing.
Okay, okay. It'll be a tricky motion to,
As you're looking at
Fairly
me.
simple.
no. And then, I guess in consideration of the construction, you know, I guess as long as I would like to see the garage not be dominant over the existing house. And I think a couple ways to do that is not so much the plate height, but make sure that the roofs of the garage and its like structure doesn't overpower the existing structure of the house. And I think with the overhangs, and it might be a little tricky with an 8-foot door, but I think with how far the house is up on like is set up, I think you'll be able to handle that with the correct architectural detailing.
I agree. I know one of the statements made by the building inspector when I talked to him originally about it, he goes, can't be taller than the house. That was it.
Yeah. Well, I would like to see it be subordinate to the house too, and I think, do you,
I
this,
concur.
so,
Yeah, well, I think an example of my thinking about what you're thinking is that front porch. That is, kind of sticks out from the house. However, it does, this house still remains, still has its character, even though, but again, the roofs are lower, et cetera. Matter of fact, in that situation, the roof on the porch, I didn't want it to go all the way up to the ridge on the house. So the roof on the porch, you probably go up about 6 feet and then it's flat, but you can't see it. So it's to your point that I'm trying to keep, I'm not looking for somebody to say, that's really a nice porch with a house attached, you know? I'd like them to say, that's a nice house and that's a nice porch. So all I'm saying is I'm on the same page.
very good. Okay. And I guess the next thing is that, you know, as long as the house, the garage is substantially smaller than the existing house without the porch. So
Yep.
I think if you can keep the roof mass down, I don't think you'd have an issue. I don't think we have a problem with what we've seen so far, right?
No, I think that the main point is that the house should still be the dominant structure on the property.
Sure.
I agree with that.
And, you know, just as it's been with the porch wasn't made to be more dominant than the main house, the garage should also be, as you said, subordinate to the primary structure. And going up a couple more feet for a larger door, whatever, you can work with roof heights on that.
Yeah, because the house, as Paul said, the house is 3.5 feet out of the ground before it starts the framing. And so I'm thinking that this plate line of the garage is going to be below that. That's what I would think.
Okay. Does anyone have a problem with the context of the garage in the historic area? I mean, it does, I don't know whether you walked around that area or not.
I've seen the house and that, but I mean, even if you look by the picture, it's, you know, even with the new garage in the back, all you're gonna see really from the street is a door with some windows probably over the top and you're probably not gonna see the whole other side of the structure
Mass.
that's going out the other way. It's gonna look probably very similar to that picture right there.
Right.
And once again, when you're looking at it from Fifth Street, especially come spring and summer with the growth,
Right?
You're gonna see it at all.
Because this picture here is taken from the Fifth Street side, and some of the leaves are gone because it's autumn.
you still can't see it.
Yeah. So really the only visible thing is from Fulton Street.
And probably because of it's hidden, the lack of light has credence to some of the mold factor. So, on the outside of the, outside of the,
Okay. Well, Jewel, do you agree with what's been said so far about that? That sort of,
Yes, yes, I do.
okay, good. Okay, well, I'm picking up that we don't really have an issue with the demolition of the existing house, or the existing garage, excuse me. And the new structure, as long as it meets some of that it is subordinate to the existing character of the property, I think we don't have an issue with it either. So,
and once again, it's all pending variances.
It is, but we don't have a problem being so close to the lot line. It's not, it's only another foot in or out.
And it's tucked in the corner in the back.
Yes. Okay. If we could get a motion to approve then,
The concept,
yes.
motion,
And we have to note both the demolition and the new construction.
okay, I'm on it. Motion to accept the concept for the demolition of the existing garage and construction of a new garage as long as the new structure is subordinate to the existing home and approval by the HPC of design and finishing elements prior to construction. Sound good?
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
McManus.
Aye.
Sullivan.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Zomer.
Aye. Motion passes.
Go to work, Joe.
Thank you. I appreciate your help with this.
Good luck with the zoning.
So these comments will be forwarded on to the Plan Commission, so the Plan Commission will have these comments when you proceed to that commission for the next step.
Thank you, and I'll take your wish of luck. And put it,
Very good.
because as there's no surprise to anybody, whatever happens over there happens over there.
Yeah,
Sometimes it makes sense, I guess, to most people, and sometimes maybe it doesn't. You know, and Mike Ditka used to, when I remember Buddy Ryan got in a fight with some player or something, and Mike Ditka's comment was, nobody died, did they? To a certain extent, I mean, I'm trying the best I can, and I'm hopefully going to get it, but nobody's going to die.
that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I've lost my secretary. Next item on our agenda is secretary report.
Thank you, Chairman Zelmer. I just have one quick update for the commission. I received word last week from the Illinois State Historic Preservation Office that 521 Hamilton Street did achieve their tax assessment freeze. If you remember that building, that had previously been a music studio. It was a 1960 mid-century modern concrete block house, and the owners have taken that on, and the state said it's been an exceptional interior renovation of that project, so I'm excited someday maybe I'll get to peek my head inside it. But for those who weren't on the commission when that house was for sale, there was one proposal to demolish it and one proposal to put a second floor and a pitched roof on it to make it more of a traditional house. So we don't have many mid-century modern structures in our historic district, so I thought that was very good news to see that the Mr. and Mrs. Dosimo have been successful in getting their tax assessment freeze project completed. That's all I have, unless you have questions for me. Well, maybe I should address real quickly, because it has been a question that's come up since we haven't met for a while, why we haven't met. The feedback that we're getting from applicants is that because of the supply chain issues and labor issues and erratic construction costs right now, there's a lot of projects that are bubbling, ready to come to us, but they're trying to pull it all together, and they've not been successful in doing that. So I suspect one of these meetings, we're suddenly going to have a rush of projects that are finally ready to move forward. So we're looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I'm keeping very busy, continuing working with the survey I've been working on, and also working with a couple of homeowners who are trying to explore the history of their homes, and working with the Geneva History Museum and other organizations to help them get their history of their homes documented. So,
How did, I noticed that the old Geneva, or the hardware store, they took off or I should say, Viking Office Supply, they took off the front canopy and stuff, and it looks great. How are they doing other than that? Are they?
they are working there every single day. They're working on the roof today. If you haven't noticed, maybe it's a good thing, but they have replaced the entire storefront per the recommendations of the commission. They seem to be very happy with that resolution. We have not received any updated information on signs or any potential modifications to the storefront or what they're planning to do with the brick. But they did replace the storefront and did exactly what the commission had asked for, so.
I didn't even notice it was changed, so.
That's a feather in all of your caps then.
Correct. And is the little owl, that is dead, right? Or is that dead?
Well, the building is
Looks
for
like it's
sale, from all my understanding, and so, again, I think the proposals that we had seen are no longer active, but hopefully someone will come along with a great renovation project for the building and take it from where it's at right now.
Any updates on the Millrace Inn?
I have had a meeting with Dave Patzelt, who represents the Shodine Group, to consider options to reduce the area that's landmarked, because if you remember, the entire parcel was designated. So I did go through that process with him, but at this point, we have not received any other information or any other contact with him on the property or the project.
Okay. Any new business from the commission? Okay. From the public? You have anything to say? Okay. Hello? Hello, public. Yes. Okay. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn? And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed? Okay. We are adjourned.